This beauty looked like this when she was 28. At 40, she looks like this. When she's over 100 years old, she'll still look like this. Even her daughter will be an old woman with gray hair. The woman still looks young and beautiful. She's not a monster. It's just that the aging of her body was stopped by an accident when she was 28. Jenny was driving in the forest that day, but suddenly there was a heavy snowfall. She accidentally drove into a lake. The water was freezing cold in winter. Jenny soon lost consciousness and breath, but just as she was about to die, a bolt of lightning struck her. The powerful electric current brought Jenny back to life and gave her the immortality that everyone wanted. At first, Jenny thought it was a gift from God. Her husband died a long time ago. Jenny raised her daughter on her own. By the time she was in her 20s, she looked like her daughter's sister. Her friends told her how young she looked, and that made her happy. Until this day, her looks and age didn't match the traffic police. Jenny realized that immortality could be a disaster, and it wasn't long before Jenny was kidnapped by the FBI. Luckily, there was a roadblock that day. Jenny was able to get out of the boot and escape. After this experience, Jenny began to think about what she wanted to do with her life. She didn't want to be a lab rat, so she chose to move. Now that her daughter was grown up, Jenny could leave without any worries. After explaining to her daughter, Jenny began to change cities frequently. Every time she changed cities, she changed her identity and name. Over the decades, she did a lot of work, but no matter what she did, she could never be truly happy. Until this day, Jenny met a man. Jack was a rich, wealthy man. He fell in love with her at a party. He made his feelings known to her that night, but Jenny had been through so much for so long. She didn't want to be in love anymore. She left the party in her car without looking back. But the next day, Jack came to the library where she worked, and he wanted to donate a large sum of books to the library. His only request was that Jenny accompany him somewhere. Jenny agreed to go with him, because she didn't think she'd ever fall in love. But she didn't realize that Jack didn't take her on a date. Instead, he took her to see a shipwreck in a cave. Jenny was intrigued. In all her years of living, she'd never known such a place. Jack's behavior changed Jenny's opinion of him. The two of them started trying to date. It didn't take long for Jenny to fall in love with him. The love she hadn't felt in a long time brought a lot of joy into her life. But then something happened. Jenny had second thoughts about running away. This young, beautiful woman is 100 years old, and her boyfriend is only in his 20s, although he treats her very well. But she made up her mind to break up with him, because her cat died. Cats only live for a decade or so, but her lifespan is endless. Even if she stayed with her boyfriend, she can only spend a few decades with him. When she thinks about it, Jenny didn't want to continue the relationship, so she broke up with Jack. Jenny had turned down many men before, but this time she was in pain. After the breakup, Jenny went to talk to her 80-year-old daughter. Seeing her mother so sad, the daughter advised her to be brave. She wanted her mother to be happy, even if that happiness doesn't last. But the time we spent together was happy, and that was enough. Her daughter's words convinced Jenny, so she went back to Jack to make up. The two of them were very close. Jack even used his parents' anniversary as an excuse. He brought Jenny home. Jack's sister and mother were very warm to her, but his father was dumbfounded when he saw her. It turned out that Jenny was William's first love. He was still in college at the time, because he repaired Jenny's car. That's how they met. They were very much in sync. William even planned to propose to Jenny, but at that time, Jenny already had the ability to live forever. She was fine with a short period of time, but she was afraid of a lifelong relationship. After all, she was too special. She didn't dare to let anyone know the truth about her. So on the day William was to propose to her, Jenny left the city. She thought William would forget her, but she didn't realize he always remembered her and loved him. So much so, that decades later, he still recognized her the moment he saw her. In the face of William's questioning, Jenny denied it, and said it was her mother. In order to make him give up, she said that her mother died a few years ago. After hearing this, William immediately fell silent. There was sadness and regret on his face. There were so many things he wanted to ask the woman, but now was not the time. The father keeps staring at his son's girlfriend. His eyes were full of love, because Jenny was not only the daughter of his first love, she looked just like his first love. But what he didn't know, the woman in front of him, is in fact his unforgettable first love. Jenny is now over 100 years old, but due to the reason of immortality, her appearance has remained at the age of 28. In the face of William's eyes full of love, she felt guilty, especially when she heard that he had named a newly discovered comet after himself. Jenny's heart was even more complicated. She had wronged so many people in her life. Whenever love came close, she couldn't help but run away, and now she doesn't want to run anymore. But her boyfriend's father was also her former lover. Luckily, he didn't know who she really was. Jenny just wanted to get out of here, but on the day she was about to leave, William saw the scar on her hand. This scar was made by Jenny when she was with him. He even stitched up the wound. Do mother and daughter look the same? Even the location of the scar is the same? William couldn't believe it. He seems to know something, but he couldn't be sure. before. So he went to Jenny. He wanted a real answer. And when it came down to it, Jenny could only tell him that she was his first love because of an accident. She didn't age or die. That's why she left when he proposed. When he found out about it, William felt both pain and regret for her. He regretted not knowing the truth earlier. But in her heart, Jenny wanted to leave as soon as possible. After she wrote a farewell letter to Jack, she packed her things and left immediately. When Jack saw the letter, he came downstairs to ask his father. But he couldn't tell him who Jenny was. He could only ask his son.
You love her?
Yes,
How do you know?
because nothing makes sense without it.
The father threw his son the keys to the car and told him to go get Jenny back. He was also trying to get back what he'd once wanted, but he didn't know Jenny was in a serious car accident. She flew off the road. It wasn't long before snow began to fall from the sky, just like the day of Jenny's accident decades ago. This time her temperature dropped to 0. She was on the verge of death. When Jack arrived, Jenny was barely breathing. Jack broke down and gave her first aid, but nothing worked until the ambulance arrived. They used a defibrillator to shock Jenny's chest twice. Jenny regained consciousness. The accident taught her a lot of things, and it made her stop running away. When she woke up, she bravely told Jack about her experience, and introduced her 80-year-old daughter to him. And that's when Jenny finally opened her heart, and Jack finally came into her heart.